The issue of Yajuj and Majuj is actually, for our modern times, I would say, one of the most, if not the most problematic of the signs of Judgment Day. And it has caused many of our youth to question, to doubt. I myself have met people that have actually left Islam because of these types of tales. And we have to be honest and frank and not pretend as if this doesn't exist. Perhaps some of you are not accustomed to hearing people speak like this, but my philosophy is different. The issue of Ya'juj and Ma'juj is something that doesn't just occur in the hadith. It is explicit in the Quran. If you look at any book of tafsir, any book of history, the notion was the following. Ya'juj and Ma'juj are a bizarre, exotic tribe in the nether regions of the world that have been trapped by Dhul Qarnayn thousands of years ago, and they're still trapped to this day. That Ya'juj and Ma'juj are a living tribe, blocked to this day behind the wall that was built 4,000, 5,000 years ago. That wall miraculously is still there. People can see on the one side, and on the other side you have these savages that Allah knows how they're eating, drinking, replicating, whatnot, and they're still there for eons and eons and eons. Dare I say, anybody who knows science and geography and modern civilization, you cannot believe that there is a tribe for 4,000 years trapped behind a wall. I mean, if you believe this, that's your position. I cannot believe it. I find this very difficult to believe. So this is, what can I say? If you believe it, you believe it. I am somebody who, what can I say? My mind doesn't believe this. Others have said, we need to reinterpret Ya'juj and Ma'juj metaphorically. And that is this newfangled interpretation. This is a very modern interpretation. It only begins in the 60s and whatnot, where they say Dajjal and Ya'juj and Ma'juj are symbolic. I admire the fact they're trying to salvage the tradition, because they understand that mainstream interpretation doesn't make sense. Another group says, and this is something that I have heard myself, some ulama say, that perhaps Ya'juj and Ma'juj are not on earth but under earth. That's why the satellites haven't discovered them. Again, I appreciate the salvaging, I really do. But how can human beings survive? No vegetation, no plants with the sun, no oxygen, food, drink, thousands of years. And according to these traditions, we're talking about gazillions of people. What is the answer to this conundrum of Ya'juj and Ma'juj? I will disappoint you by saying there is no clear-cut answer. I don't have a solution to Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Allah knows best. Perhaps there is another interpretation. Ya'juj and Ma'juj seem to be human but not human. You see where this is heading. And they seem to be a race of people that cannot be fought. And they seem to be doing things that are bizarre, drinking up all of this water. That's not, humans can't do that. Mentally, they don't seem to be 100% there when they think they can kill the people of the heavens. This isn't normal. This isn't rational. The regular human beings alive, the followers of Isa, are so terrified of this group that they don't even want to see them. They're fleeing away from them. They will not fight them. The hadith mentions they will not be able to be fought. He mentions, if you look at the popular imagination of our times, you find a genre of literature and horror movies. How will they get gotten rid of? Allah will send a disease, some type of antivirus, some type of vaccine. Because the hadith mentions this explicitly, does it not? Allah will send something that will get them in the neck, and they will die the death of one person. And I said, but how do we tell the public this? And deep down inside you'll realize this makes a lot more sense than anything else out there. And deep down inside you'll realize this makes a lot more sense than anything else out there. And it's very clear to you and to every single very advanced student and specialist that the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say. The standard narrative does not answer some very pressing questions. These are now well known within the Western Academy, that they're bringing forth issues. Their level of now knowledge is leaps and bounds above what it used to be, 100 years ago. What is happening in the last few years is not me anymore. It's the Western academics. These problems are now becoming mainstream. And by and large, our ulama in the Eastern world are not aware, by and large, of what's going on in the Western side of things. And they're not answering those questions in a manner that it needs to be answered.
Then Muhammad Hijab has him on again. And this has to be probably the most damaging podcast, I think, to date in regards to the Durat and the destruction it caused. He goes on to Muhammad Hijab's platform and starts giving the preservation of the Quran question. Ever since that podcast, subhanAllah, those of us who are involved in da'wah, like myself specifically, I'll talk from my own experience, the amount of comments I get from Christians, from people who are against Islam and they want to sow seeds of doubts in the minds of Muslims, over and over and over again, they use speech and quotes from Yasser Qadhi from Muhammad Hijab's podcast to try and do that. It's like every single day on social media. The reason I embraced Islam fundamentally in the very beginning was because I saw that the Bible wasn't preserved. I wanted to know, did Allah give us a preserved scripture? And when I found the Quran was clearly the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, clearly it has been preserved, clearly no doubt about it. That has been like the main talking point when I give da'wah to people, to Christians specifically. So for that podcast to put a question mark on that for people, I mean, the damage it caused, subhanAllah, it's beyond words. If you can't internalize and understand how horrible of a thing that happened, then I can't explain it to you. You have to be so careful even talking about this topic because it's been something that has been so weaponized by the kuffar.